self-sabotaging. In this episode of Ask Dr. Jodi, we are going to talk about why people sabotage themselves, why they sabotage success or opportunities, what it means, how to stop it. We're going to first talk about the negative consequences because I got to convince you that you need to work on stopping it. This is the thing that a lot of us have this sense of unworthiness because we don't think we're perfect enough. We don't think we're smart enough or cool enough or skinny enough or young enough or lovable enough. And so we have that chips away at our sense of worth. We have all these high expectations in our culture, and it chips away at our sense of worth because we cannot meet them. They're unrealistic, and we cannot meet those expectations. And so we're judging ourselves on these expectations all the time. And when we do that, which we do, we're going to find ourselves unworthy or inadequate or less than adequate. And what that means is we begin to stop trusting ourselves. And so when we're faced with a challenge or we're faced with a goal or we're faced with an opportunity or a desire, we might get in our own way. And in a way, we think that we're trying to protect ourselves. We're trying to protect ourselves from being hurt or being disappointed or losing hope. We're trying to pretend that we don't want it that bad. We don't really desire it. It's not even worth it. It's not worth our effort because then we're going to feel worse and we sabotage it. So, sabotaging yourself is usually based in fear. And there's three kinds of fear that people have. There's fear of failure, check. We're afraid of failure. There's fear of being trapped. And then there's fear of rejection or abandonment. So, fear of failure, fear of rejection or abandonment, same thing. And fear of being trapped. Those are our three main fears. All of our fears could fall into one of those categories. Those are overgeneralized. I started thinking about this because, as a therapist for this long, I have talked to so many people and we talk about their problems, obviously, because that's what they come to therapy about when they're talking. They want to unload and they want to figure it out and they want to make meaning and they want to move past the experiences that they have in their life. And they can. Even if you have been stuck for a really, really long time, it is possible to heal. I've seen the most unlikely people heal and they heal. It's amazing. So, as I've had these conversations over and over and over about all kinds of problems, I realize that the root of every problem, because we unpack it and see what's under that, and we unpack it and see what's under that, and then we unpack it and see what's under that. And at the base of all of them, sometimes they're easy to find, sometimes it's like layers over there, but there's one of these three fears. And when I think about them, I think that really they're all the same fear. They're all fear of being unworthy, fear of being unlovable because you're unworthy of love. So, fear of rejection, obviously, you're afraid of being unworthy of love, of being accepted or being wanted or being included. The fear of being trapped is like you're trapped alone without help. You're unworthy of being free. You're unworthy of having sovereignty. You're unworthy of having your own free will. So that's the fear of being trapped, right? Your fear of being unworthy and unlovable so much that you deserve being trapped. And not all trappedness, like, so if we're stuck in traffic, a lot of people have anxiety about traffic. They don't want to be stuck in traffic. It's not a rational anxiety because you're relatively safe stuck in traffic. I mean, we're relatively safe everywhere and relatively in danger everywhere, right? Something unusual could happen in any given situation, but relatively you're safe sitting there. Stopped in traffic, you're safer than when you're moving, right? People are really they're afraid of having anxiety when they're trapped and being trapped in there with anxiety, right? So it's not necessarily about being trapped, is feeling overwhelmed and anxious when you're trapped because and there's nothing you could do about it. That is a huge trigger for anxiety. And if you want to watch last week's episode, when I talked to Tom and Tom's talking about in his own experience that he struggles with. If he was alone and something happened, an emergency happened, he'd be trapped in his anxiety and he couldn't react to that situation. So go ahead and watch that episode. We're talking about intrusive thoughts. We're talking about clearing, decluttering your negativity in your mind. And I do live coaching on the show, and you could sign up to be a call-in guest. You don't have to use your name, and people don't have to know where you're from or any identifying details about your life, but you could get free coaching, free counseling on the show. Of course, it's only about 20 minutes, but it's free and it's available, and I'm here to help you. So you could go to my website, jodieamon.com/live, jodieamon.com/live, and you could sign up to do that. Sign up. Okay. So I don't have a guest tonight, so I'm just going to talk to you about self-sabotage because we want to stop doing that. We think we're protecting ourselves. This is what anxiety does. It makes you think that it's protecting you from some future disappointment by making you not try. Because you've concluded that you'll probably fail. And if you conclude that you'll probably fail and you try really hard, then you're a big loser and that you are not skilled at all. And so if you sabotage the effort, either not making it, oversleeping, not going, there's a lot of different ways you could sabotage an opportunity. Not trying in general is the biggest way we get in our own way. And technically, I mean, usually it's either we put it out of our mind and try not to think about it. Sometimes we use substances to try to forget about it. And basically, it's our overthinking that has us hesitate. So if you were going to go to a task or you're going to put some effort in something, our mind is trying to protect us from running out of calories, right? Because we evolved for millions of years in hunter gatherer times, and there wasn't always food. And so anytime you're have a task ahead of you, your brain is going to be like, do we need to do that? I don't think so. Unless it's very clear in evolutionary terms, in biological terms, that that activity is for surviving or thriving, it's going to put some biological resistance. It's going to make you feel like, I don't feel like doing that. And then we put all kinds of meaning around that. Like, I'm going to fail anyway, so why try? So we have this resistance, like, I'm tired or I don't want to. We have this feeling like, I don't want to make that effort. And we think that it means something. We think that that's a sign or a message for us, and it's not. It's just this biological thing that we have through evolution that we don't really need anymore. So we think, okay, I don't feel like doing this. And sometimes it feels like somebody is oppressing us by making us do it. It feels like, we shouldn't have to. We get protesty about it. And then we decide, or we think, well, that's pointless. There's, the chances of me winning or getting it are so slim. I'm not going to put the effort in. That just seems too hard, right? We sabotage our own successes because it just feels hard, or we just distract ourselves away from it, or whatever we have to do. And we get 0% of the opportunities that we don't try for. 0% of the opportunities that we don't try for. So this is the thing. Also, I want to put a caveat in here. This is the thing about self sabotage. It is a description of an action that somebody takes. I'm using it as a description of an action that sometimes people take to sabotage their goal or their desire or their hope because there's a fear that they're going to fail, a fear that they're unworthy of succeeding, a fear that they're not going to get it or they're going to be rejected, a fear that they're going to be stuck in something that they don't like and can't get out of it. Those three fears, really all the same fear. Really all the same fear. Okay. So I'm using it as a description. So it's a description. Self-sabotage is an action that we take. I'm saying that because I don't want you to think about it as a term, like a self-saboteur or self-sabotage. I do self-sabotage. Like we take that stuff on, this negative coping mechanism of self-sabotage. We almost wear it as an identity and we use it again to judge ourselves against something. Am I self sabotaging? Probably. And yes. And so then we get that negative label on ourselves. I don't want that. Right. I didn't make this video so that you have more labels on you. Please do not do that because you have too many labels on you. Because if you're in Western culture, we tend to pull all the labels on ourselves and just keep piling them on. And I want you to get rid of those labels. You don't deserve any of them. We take actions for a conscious purpose. If we want to change the purpose, we change the action. We're not stuck. We're not stuck in the way that we act. We could change that and any time. Every day is new, every hour is new. So you're never stuck in the identity. But when you take on these negative coping mechanisms or these negative thoughts or these negative ideas about yourself or these labels about yourself as part of your identity, you're going to perform those. And when you perform those negative identity conclusions about yourself, life is not fun, not easy, not hopeful, not joyful. And that's not good. I mean, it's not good. That's where we have increases of anxiety and depression. And this is cultural. Like I always say, this is cultural. This is a regular human response to our world because we have all of these high expectations. But if we understood them and we understood it wasn't us that knows we're not good enough. It was we're cultured to judge ourselves really harshly, irrationally, irrationally, harshly, irrationally, harshly. We are encultured to judge ourselves lest we miss something that we're wrong about and people leave us out and reject us and dismiss us from the community. We're so afraid of that happening. It's like innate in us. We're so afraid of being kicked out that we try to overreach these unreachable expectations and we're always going to find ourselves inadequate. And when we do that, we stop trusting ourselves, we think we're unworthy, and so of course it's going to bring in those negative coping skills like self-sabotage. But this is not like this is who you are. You're a person who self-sabotages. I self-sabotage. I self-sabotage. I self-sabotage. You hear it's like that's the identity. It's not your identity. It's something that sometimes you've done, unfortunately, and you missed out on something probably. But there's unlimited opportunities. That wasn't your last one. Don't worry about it. If you've done this a couple times in your life, that's fine. Don't worry about the pattern. That could change. And if you start seeing yourself as someone who sabotages all the time, you might as well keep going. See how what I mean by you perform it? When you bring in these identity conclusions and think that it's you perform them. You're going to continue to do that. If that's the narrative that you have about yourself, you're going to continue to act that out. But you could change that narrative because that is not you. That's a couple actions you took sometimes. And because maybe you did more than one, they're like standing out like beacons in your story. But there was tons of time that you wanted something bad enough that you went for it, or something was easy and you knew it was easy and you went for it and got it. And I'm not talking about like a big prize or, big contest or something. Sometimes it's little things like you studied really hard and did well on a test. There's tons of things that we do not self sabotage ourselves for. But if we have some in our memory, like even if it's a couple, we start to think that is us. And I want to undo that. We think that's us. We think that's our identity. We're going to keep performing that. Nope. Done. Done today. We're going to stop self sabotaging. And then let's go in this video, let's go in this episode here to talking about what then you can do about it. Okay. Um, so easy. So easy. I bet you could guess. I wish I was like live with you all and we're all in a room together. And so that you could raise your hand and guess what I'm gonna say, because I think you'll get it. The way to stop self-sabotage is ready, drum roll, to be kind to yourself. To be kind to yourself. Because if you think about it, The fear of unworthiness or the fear that you're not good enough is feeding this kind of behavior, this kind of action that you've taken sometimes. It's not who you are. It's not what you're about. It does not speak to your potential. It speaks to a couple times when you felt overwhelmed and your fear got ahead of you and you got in your way of whatever you wanted. I mean, sometimes you worked hard and didn't get the thing. That's not what I'm talking about. But if you're somebody who has this pattern of getting in their own way, so when you're getting close to somebody, you get scared and you blow up that relationship. You get this interview that you've been wanting for a really long time, and then you oversleep. You miss appointment or show up late for your job that you're really excited to get or whatever, right? We Those are big kind of self-sabotages, but sometimes it's really little. Sometimes it's eating something that doesn't make you feel good. It's good for a moment on your mouth, but it does upset your stomach later, but you eat it anyway and you get your upset stomach. Like sometimes it's little like that. Or like me last 2 weeks ago, I didn't have my microphone on. I did the whole episode live. I'm on YouTube live, and there was no sound. Halfway through, I got a text from my aunt saying there's no sound. So I was really hoping that the recording had sound, but no, my microphone was off. So nothing had sound. So I kept recording to blank room. Like everybody and so many people watched and wrote to me. It's like, there's no sound on this. I turned the video off, but people still saw it. It was really funny. Not funny. Funny, not funny. But I know to check my microphone. You could say that I sabotage myself or I made a mistake. Right? I wouldn't necessarily have judged myself of that, but other people, because I have a lot of tech problems. I mean, I really shouldn't be keep continuing to do this show because I have so many tech problems. Everyone would have given up by now. But I'm like, whatever. I have tech problems. I still want to show up and be here for people. And eventually I'm gonna get it right. I think eventually I'm gonna stop making mistakes. And I should have stopped a long time ago, probably making mistakes, that is not doing the show, but this is this is life. So I wouldn't call it self-sabotage, but if I had a narrative about myself about self-sabotage, for sure I would have said that's what I was doing by mistakenly not putting my microphone on or not checking. Really, I need to put a checklist. I need a checklist on my desk. So every Monday I go through the checklist. I changed microphones today, so I know I'm on. But, you know, you learn from mistakes. I learned so much from my mistakes. I wrote a blog. I mentioned this in an episode a few weeks ago. I don't even know what the episode was about, but I remember a lot, like 10 years ago, I wrote a blog post called I make so much I make wait, I learned so much from mistakes that I'm going to keep making more of them. I don't know. I can't remember what the title was now. I learned so much from my mistakes. I'm going to keep making them or something like that. And I believe in that because I don't see myself as a self saboteur. I probably am. Sometimes we all are. Sometimes, I mean, sometimes I wish I could get out of bed at 5 and work out and get my day started, but I stay in bed reading. And then, I lose some really productive hours. But you could also say that my reading is really productive and I'm intentionally doing that, though not always intentionally. I mean, in the moment, I'm like, I'm going to stay here and read. But sometimes at night I go to bed, I'm like, I'm going to get up early. I'm going to start working. Um, and then in the morning, I'm like, I want to read. I'm making that conscious decision. And I'm not making it to sabotage my success or anything. It does affect my work because I get less done. I'm on social media less. I'm teaching less and less out there. But I don't know. I don't think it's not my story. But if someone came in and they also had a story of themselves as a self saboteur, they might look at my situation and they might judge me that way. Remember, because if they're judging themselves that way, they start to judge because they're afraid. So they start to judge everyone else. If they really cared about me, they might be worried about me. being disappointed or being sad, because that's what they're worried about too, being disappointed, being having failure, having rejection, being trapped in something, being trapped in failure, right? How about that? Being trapped in failure and then nobody likes you because of that. There's such a huge fear that people have. So when they worry about someone they love maybe teetering on that and maybe failing themselves, then they might judge me because they're afraid for me. Who knows what I'm going to be talking about when I'm live on air? So I don't see any questions here, but so this is the thing. This is the fix. Again, let me summarize. Be kind to yourself, because if you have self compassion and you're kind to yourself, your fear about failure, your fear of rejection, and your fear of being trapped are going to go down. If you have self compassion and you build trust in yourself, and you're kind to yourself, you'll stop getting in your own way and stop judging yourself. This is the thing about judging yourself. It's so distracting. It takes up so much time, so much energy, so much bandwidth and headspace that you have less time to heal or do the things that you want to do. So when you are sabotaging yourself, that's another way to sabotage yourself, is overthinking. We overthink and overthink and overthink, and we get stuck. We get so stuck giving all of our attention to that, thinking that we're protecting ourselves, but really causing so much suffering and getting in the way of the things that our heart and our soul want to do so bad, like build community, have fun, laugh, have adventures, be silly. Just be silly. We're so worried about like doing it right or perfect or everything that we lose some of the silliness. And really the silliness is what changes everything. Is that laughter and that silliness and that play increases our neuroplasticity, and then we could change. We could be doing something for a really long time, but with that laughter, we change easier than before. We change our beliefs, we change how we feel about ourselves, we change that record in our head from that negativity to something positive. So that is how you fix self sabotage. That's how you stop self sabotage. You be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself. So, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Ask Dr. Jodi. You could find this as a podcast on all podcast apps, or you could find me on YouTube. If you're reading on the blog or on social media, just come on over to jodieamon.com/live. You could sign up for email updates so you know what topics coming up, or you could sign up to be a guest on the show. I would love to have you. Even if you're talking about something private, you can be private. Private. All right. Well, I will see you next Monday at 8 p.m. right here live. Put it in your calendar, and I'll see you then.